Well, hello everyone, and welcome back. Are you guys ready to go to Argus? Who would have thought we'd ever be saying that? Before we do, though, I do want to show you guys something, in case you haven't already noticed it at the top left. I am level 120. Now, don't worry. I have not done any of the BFA content. None. Okay, this shaman has not touched any BFA content. You're probably wondering, well, how did you get to 120 so fast? Well, that's because of this. Actually, let me pull this up to show it better. There we go. Time walking. The time walking dungeons. I pretty much took like a day or so to work on this. Heck, I even tried to help out a couple of groups do the time walking Ulduar, and boy, was that an experience. Lots of wipes, let me tell you. Boy, boy, I was mentally exhausted by the end of that day. But yeah, basically, I spent a lot of time with this character doing the time walking dungeons. A lot of gun track and Oculus, Halls of Lightning. Just it seems like whenever they do the time walking, there's only like a few specific dungeons they'll actually let you get to do. Like Ankahet was one that came up a few times. Didn't get to do Asdol Nerub. Didn't get Draktharen Keep. Didn't get to do Halls of Reflection, Halls of Stone. We did do the Pit of Saren, but we didn't get to do the Forge of Souls, the Culling of Stratholme, the Violet Hold, Trial of the Champion, Utgar Pinkel. We did get Utgar Keep, but it just seems like they're not letting you do every dungeon here. It's pretty much like only a few, like that one, that one, that one. It's just like, oh, come on. Can we do some of the other ones that like are some people's favorites? You know. But yeah, I pretty much spent time doing that, realizing I got regular XP for doing those, and realized I could level this character to 120 before even getting to Argus, which is actually kind of a good idea because Argus is rough. It's really rough, which it should be because it's Argus. But let's just say going to Argus as a 120 feels better than 110. Also, I was getting some nice level gear, so I'm now up to 242. It says 250 total because I have some things here that are actually better for my my Resto Shaman, because some of them emphasize the intellect and Resto part. I had to take off my legendary gloves. Sad face. But the ability doesn't work anymore because I had to be lower than level 115 for it to work. So I've been able to get some other better gear. I had someone get really upset because this dropped for me, this level 304 Warforged Cloak, and I was a 118 at the time, and they were just like really salty and jealous about it because mainly because I was a 118, not a 120. But as you can see, I've been able to get some better gear, not completely, but some here and there. You'll also notice we have a couple of other things here, which means sadly it is time to say goodbye to the Doom Hammer, the actual weapon. Won't be able to actually, okay, so I do like this add-on I found where it actually lets me know how to get the special certain appearances, so hopefully if I ever come across Levantis or Flotsam, I'll be able to have a chance at getting that special appearance for it, which would be great, because you'll notice I do still have the appearance here, because I may not be able to use the actual Doom Hammer anymore, but we can still use the appearance. So I can still use the Doom Hammer as a transmog, so it's time to say goodbye to the Doom Hammer artifact, but the appearance I will always have. So, in some ways we have to say goodbye, but in some ways we'll never have to say goodbye. So, anyway, what do you guys say we head to Argus and take a look at a really awesome sequence? Now, as we're doing this, keep in mind, this would have been done on launch day with a ton of
will
players.
Be pleased that you answered his call. We Draenei have long awaited this day.
The Legion has run rampant on Azeroth for too long. It is time to see this done.
So yeah, keep in mind also that at the same time, in Stormwind, Alliance players are getting ready to do the exact same thing that we're doing here. You'll see Silgrin is here, Vindicator Boros, Liadrin, Aethys Sunreaver. Lots of representatives, because this is a huge deal. We're about to go to the Exodar because Velen and the Draenei have a vessel for us to get there on, but you'll see that in a bit.
Anaria Shala.
I knew you would be among those called to fight. It would be an honor to fight by your side. The Draenei have crafted a vessel to take us to Argus safely. They are gathering the invasion force on Azurmist Isle as we speak. We will join them there by sea. The Legion is no doubt keeping a close eye on the gateway to their world. We must retain the element of surprise. Let me know when you are ready.
Remain vigilant.
Let's go.
Fight well.
Remember, this is supposed to be... Imagine this being done with me with a ton of other players with me at the same time, as some of the dialogue happens here. So you'll see there's an Alliance ship. The idea is that
I see
many
the
champions from both the Horde and the Alliance... Yep. As Sunreaver just said there. It's supposed to be... Ideally, the idea is that many players from both the Alliance and the Horde are both getting here at the same time and heading to the vessel, because, of course, this is the time where all the politics stuff, put that to the side. We're not here to debate the whole Horde versus Alliance thing. No. Leave the politics at home. We're here to go to Argus to face the Legion. This is where we do not care what faction we are on. This is all about... We are going there to Argus to face the Legion for Azeroth.
Arcanon Boros.
May the light protect us all this day. Prophet Velen and the others have gathered within the Vault of Light below. There is an entrance just down this path. We should find the Prophet at once so that we do not stall the invasion.
Dionys Akka. Come. I will show you to the Vault of Lights. The others await our arrival.
I like how they mount up too.
Impressive. The Legion won't expect a force this strong.
Argus is our ancestral home. We will not see it in the Legion's hands any longer.
Remember, there's supposed to be a ton of players here. That's why she's like, a force this strong.
Fellow Draenei, champions of Azeroth, the time has come to invade Argus. We will save our world and put a stop to the Burning Legion, once and for all.
The Legion grows desperate. We should strike now, while their attention remains focused on Azeroth.
You are right, Illidan. This may be our best chance to gain the upper hand.
Lothraxian's here. And there's Light's Heart, of course, because we have to take Zero with us. A lot of things to notice here in the background around. This is, of course, the Exodar. If you're an Alliance player, you're like, yeah, and... But if you're a Horde player, you'll notice that I discovered this for the first time, because, remember, Horde players are not allowed in a place like this, so this is a somewhat of a deal that Horde players are able to come into the here, perhaps for the first time, seeing this, as we are about to get ready to make our travel to Argus.
Will you join our cause?
Okay, before we get underway, I do have to say this, because this drives me nuts. This is a complaint I have. It's Velen's voice. Now, the voice they have him using for this expansion is awesome. Where he's like, "Fellow Draenei, we must go to Argus and defeat the Legion." That's awesome. I love that. But then when you talk to him, it goes back to a voice I remember them using back in Burning Crusade. Well, it sounds like this. Well, he'll say things like, "We must unite against the Legion." And then all of a sudden, like, "We must make a stand." It just goes back and forth between the two different voices. it's jarring and it drives me nuts. I really wish they had just stuck with one voice instead of the two different voices to save on the sound bites. Everything is prepared for our assault. We need only establish the beacon to transport us to the vessel. Once the beacon arrives, place your hand upon its surface to board the Vindakar, the instrument of our retribution.
We must
Lend me your strength, champion. We will open the way together. The Exodar has long been crippled by the crash that brought us to this world many years ago. Every spare moment, every resource has gone toward the birth of a new vessel. Our instrument of retribution. The way is open! Come, children of Argus, allies, champions! The Vindikar awaits.
See Magni, Khadgar. Everybody is coming. Now, before we step on board and get underway here, I do want to say that even though this section at times can be pretty awesome, because there are some really awesome moments during this portion of the story, the Argus story, there are also some things that irritate me and things that make me go, huh? Like when it comes to the lore and the story, especially some things involving a character we are going to encounter when we go on Argus, who does kind of take a bit of the spotlight during our time here on Argus. And I've heard some people, in fact, there's one particular I highly recommend you check out his channel, or he's known as the Lore Runner. He has a couple different channels. He's done a full lore run of World of Warcraft, Legion, and Warcraft 3. He is very, very knowledgeable when it comes to that. Highly recommend checking out his channel and his stuff. He came up with a term to explain some of the writing in this portion of the story called just go with it. Like, some of the stuff in this can be kind of explained, but for the most part, the writers at that point were just like, look, just go with it. Just go with it. At this point, they had kind of started to shift away from working on Legion to work on BFA, and, well, you can kind of reflect. Whereas Suramar was just great, this kind of does take a bit of a hit, but you'll see as it goes. I like how it has the BC loading screen because it's the Exodar. Welcome to the Vindakar. This is a spaceship. I just want to make this clear, get this out of the way. Yes, this is a spaceship. I've heard some people, they couldn't stand the idea of a spaceship being in a fantasy setting. They're like, no, keep the sci-fi out of our fantasy setting. I'm one of those who doesn't really feel that way. I kind of don't think it's that big a deal if they decide to add some sci-fi here and there into a fantasy setting. I think it can be a cool like blend of the two. I think if you do something cool with it, awesome. So I'm not really one of those who minds that there is a spaceship with like interdimensional transportation and such in a fantasy setting like Warcraft. I really don't mind that at all. I'm just saying. Sup, Illidan?
My brethren in the Army of the Light await our arrival. Only together will we achieve victory.
The light will guide us to them. Ramul, begin final preparations and ensure our forces are accounted for. It is time.
Yes, Prophet. Right away.
I do like how this goes a little Star Trek here. Make sure the preparations are all accounted for. Like, it turns very Star Trek in that regard, with Velen being like Picard, and like they all like answer to Velen in that regard. Like at one point Ramul pretty soon is gonna be like, Prophet, we are ready. And he goes, proceed. It takes that feel, which is pretty enjoyable. But there should be a pretty awesome cutscene here in just a bit. which will kind of kickstart the beginning of the Argus portion here. If you're wondering who this is, by the way, you'll probably recognize him if you have done either the Paladin or the Priest class hall campaign. This is a Nathrazim who is now a Lightforged. Yes, I'm serious. If you're curious as to how or why, well, we'll get into that later. Involving, well, that. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk to
Not
Velen.
all who wander are lost.
I have waited many years for this day. Behold, the triumph of the Draenei, the Vindikar. What we do this day, we do for Azeroth, for the countless souls lost to the Legion's foul crusade. Once you are ready, we will take the Vindikar into the very heart of the Legion. Argus awaits.
Let me know when you are ready to depart.
I am ready.
Not all.
Here we go.
All forces are on board and accounted for. The Vindikar will be ready to depart shortly.
After we reach Argus, we will meet with the army of the light and begin our invasion.
Love that subtle entrance there.
Does he understand what you're truly asking of him? Do any of them?
We follow the path of the light, no matter where it leads.
Your faith has always been your weakness. When your closest allies fell to darkness, you didn't stop them.
Killed Jaden and
When the
Archimonde.
Legion swept over your world and took your people, you didn't make a stand. All you did was watch, convinced you were following the light's will. The truth is, you failed your people. Their blood is on your hands.
You will never understand what I did to save my people.
The light is holding you back. It's time to forge your own path.
Prophet, we are ready.
Proceed.
There we go. This was a huge event.
Where is your army of the light?
The Zenadar. Something is wrong.
The cowards have come out of hiding. Bring them down!
The Legion will fire again soon! What are your orders, Prophet?
We make our stand. The last battle for Argus has begun.
Can I just say, from this point onward, Velen is just awesome. He really is. This is around the time when I became a fan of Velen. Velen really did not have that much of a spotlight on him before, but here, he takes front and center stage, and he is just awesome from here on out for the rest of the expansion. Really, really cool. By the way, I do
Their
want
next
to...
blast will decimate us. Unless we strike first.
We must destroy the weapon while it is still recharging. Ramul, deploy a bunker below.
Bunker deployed, Prophet.
Okay. I do want to comment on a couple things about that cutscene. I know some people had a problem with how Illidan was kind of being smug. He was kind of smirking and laughing and such, like the looks he was giving him. The thing that you realize later, though, is that Illidan's trying to make a point to Velen. He's trying to get through to him, especially when he hears him say, it's like, well, we'll just follow the light wherever it takes us. And Illidan's like, no. You cannot think that way. You can't, especially not here. Blindly, thinking the light's gonna do whatever for you. Because, keep in mind, Velen had been a bit of a Naru or Light fanboy somewhat. In fact, the alternate him from Warlords of Draenor killed himself to save a Naru. So Illidan's trying to kind of prevent him from going down that same path by getting him to kind of think on his own and not have to rely on something else, but realize that if they're going to succeed here, he can't rely on something else. He has to be willing to help take a stand and do it himself. Like, we have to do this ourselves. And that's something that's going to come up later on in a later cutscene that you will see, which is awesome. So that was just one of the things I remember that realized that that's what Illidan was trying to do. It serves a purpose. He's trying to get through to Velen to make him think a little bit more, on his own feet, instead of just relying on something else to do it for him.
Will you join our cause?
We must act quickly. Champion, we will suffer the same fate as the Army of the Light if the Legion fires that infernal weapon at us. We must descend into the siege camp below and destroy it while we still can.
Not
Ramul, send our vanguard to establish a front.
Activating transport array.
Champion, we will descend together once you are prepared.
On your mark.
The Legion's fury pales before mine.
That's for later. Alright. Now, I will actually say that when I look at this, a lot of this stuff is already unlocked, even though in story it would not. But that's because a lot of the stuff, once you do it the first time, it gets account unlocked. If you're curious, I went through this already once, only once, with my Warlock alt, wanting to kind of get a feel of what this place was going to be like, what to do, in preparation for this when I would do it on camera. So that's why all of these points here are already unlocked, even though in the story they would not be unlocked. So just that's just kind of why.
Our time is now, hero.
Take me to the
The
surface.
Vindicar is at your disposal.
Beam me down, Scotty. Well, at least Rhaegar is here with me. So, welcome to Argus. And, yeah, pretty pleasant place. But there's something else I want to show you guys. That's our beloved Azeroth right there. You'll notice it's rotating. You see it? It's moving. If you stand here and stare long enough, and prevent it from logging you out from AFK, it will rotate the entire thing. If you get to the right angle, you can try and see certain things like the Maelstrom and try and actually see, Kalimdor and the Eastern Kingdoms. This is one of the best skyboxes that they've ever done. This is just amazing. And we never really had this either on Draenor or on Outland, not like this. And I start to wonder, is this what it must be like for astronauts if they are on the moon and they look over and they see the Earth? Is this what it must feel like to look over there and be like, oh my gosh, that's our home planet right there? I like how it has ships they're kind of just scattered throughout, like slowly heading to Azeroth. Like as we're here doing this, they're trying to send an invasion force to try and continue their invasion of Azeroth. Huh. Oh. Apparently something falls with us. Yeah, by the way, you're gonna see some pretty disgusting creatures on this planet. Our home. What has it become? Oh yeah, let me point this out. This is and this is especially relevant, of course, for the Draenei. Do you guys know how many years it has been since the Draenei left Argus? If I have this correct, in the lore, this makes certain things coming up in a bit here kind of absurd from a story thing, but it's been like 25,000 years. Yeah. Which makes certain lines of dialogue you hear later on a little silly. And I'll kind of point it out as it happens. At least I'll try to. But anyway. Oh, and by the way, here's another fun thing to know about this place. Actually, hold on. Let me use this one. I'm pressing the spacebar button. You can't fly on Argus. Yeah, isn't that just great? You can't fly here. It's like some of those other, like the Timeless Isle and others, like, you know, the other certain zones and such.
Hold your ground! We must protect the Vindicare with our lives!
Will you join our cause?
Welcome to Argus, home world of a burning legion. The devastators bombarding our forces prevent us from advancing any further. They can only protect us from their blasts for so long. Champion, you must pierce their lines and remove the barriers protecting the devastators. You can destroy the anchors that maintain the shields. You can cleanse them from the fog.
We must unite against the Legion.
A timely arrival.
Alright. We will find no sanctuary on this world. Even now, the full might of the Burning Legion rises to defend Argus. The siege camp below overflows with demon filth that stand between us and the weapon trained on the Vindicare. They must be dealt with before it can fully charge, or Argus will be our grave.
See
The
it
Vindicare
done.
cannot fire upon the Devastators until the barriers are disabled. Hurry!
We will not be able to hold this line. These are some of the greatest warriors. Do not underestimate them.
You have seen but a fraction of our might.
Okay, I'm gonna admit, right now, it feels really nice that I am essentially one-shotting a lot of these guys because I'm 120 now and I have better gear. Because the last time I was here with my squishy warlock, it wasn't a pleasant experience. So being able to come here now as a much higher level character and just fight these guys, it feels pretty good.
Fell energy. The Legion has not been idle here during their crusade.
Help! Help me! We fight, we survive.
My people enslaved, beaten within death's grasp. Peter weakly raised his arm, handing you a small liquid skin. Help us.
Walk in the shadows of the earth. You have my thanks, outsider. May our paths cross again.
Take caution that you do not engage the conquerors alone. I can sense their power from here.
I think I'm doing okay, Illidan. I know some
Those
people
who
think that this,
disobey
this ruins like the difficulty and the challenge experience and all that stuff that people say. I don't know about you, but I'm enjoying just wiping these guys out.
The elements will crush you.
Sometimes it's fun to be overpowered.
The earth writhes in agony.
Besides, I've already done
All
this
life
legitimately once.
Fuel for the fell. Those who disobey are sent to the forest. Our soul none return. Even death has no sorrow.
Hello there.
The Legion you know is but a whisper of our true glory.
Can I take this guy down? Let's see. Let's see if I can.
Doomed your world to bathe in the Master's flame.
You doomed the world. Yep. Blah 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 blah.
It matters not. It has already begun.
Huh. I guess that's another player. Yep, looks like it. Or maybe that's just the Warframe on its own, which wouldn't surprise me if that was the case, because those things are death machines. No, seriously. We get one of those, that thing will destroy anything in front of it.
Be purged by the light.
And I can get one of those if I get exalted with the Army of Light. Which I want to be able to unlock the allied race. There we go.
Behold the might of the Vindicar.
Alright, let's continue to get these guys up and going.
They will not find us all. Not in the
I was also able to work on my reputation with certain factions. That's why that bar is there. Look at this, I'm standing right next to it and I'm not aggroing it.
Our souls
Because I'm 10 levels higher now. That's nice.
must resist.
Not have to attract everything here.
The elements will crush you.
Hold on. I see.
I will defend Argus to my dying breath!
Sure.
The armies of 1,000 worlds will rise against you! You are dead!
We'll see about that.
Do you think me a fool? Think to me!
All right.
I will never stop.
Got 82 Blood of Argus. Or Blood of Sargeras, excuse me. Alright, now let's go turn these in.
Not all
Alright.
wonder.
Evil draws close.
We must unite against the Legion.
The Legion will stop at nothing to
The
destroy
army
our
of the
world.
light will not have fallen in vain. Our forces will assault the main encampment while we destroy their siege weapon. This will be but the beginning of our vengeance.
My
Let us
hunt is
destroy this
eternal.
foul machine while we still have the chance.
There are no guards this close to their weapon. Something is wrong. This is no mere siege weapon.
We must stand together for Azeroth!
Holy moly!
Hold fast over here! Look out!
Down it goes!
Whatever that thing was, I doubt that was the only one in Sargeras' arsenal. Soon the entire Legion will descend upon us.
We will hold our ground. I only pray there are survivors among the army of the light.
Boy, I'll tell you what, this gives me confidence that hopefully I'll be able to show you guys one of the dungeons here on Argus that I've never done. And there's a cutscene here in that dungeon that happens that should hopefully not skip. Because I've never done the dungeon before, and I'm hoping I'll actually be able to solo the dungeon now because I have seen that 120 players can solo Legion dungeons now, at least on normal. They say they can do it on Mythic, but I mean, I wouldn't even try that.
The hour has come at last.
Not when it comes to just serving the purpose of trying to record it for this.
Will you join our
Gustian
cause?
Leech. Our forces sustained heavy losses defending the Vindikar. We require allies. The Army of the Light was known to take in survivors of the Legion's crusade to bolster their ranks. We must do the same. I sense the presence of the Legion slaves you freed nearby. I suspect that they have carved out a resistance against their masters. I would appreciate your company.
Not all wonder.
We won't be able to sustain another attack from one of those creatures. We must bolster our forces.
The Krokul slaves fled somewhere further down the ridge as they were freed. They could not have gone far. They could be valuable allies in our fight.
You assume much of their loyalties. Risk your life if you must. I will prepare our forces for the inevitable counterattack.
As you wish. Come, hero. I can feel their presence not far from here.
Alright,
Not
lead the way,
all of my people
Velen.
left Argus when Archimond and Kil'jaeden made their pact with the Dark Titan. Many joined the Legion willingly, giving in to Sargeras' false promises of power and glory. Those who realized the truth sought escape, but found themselves trapped in this nightmare. How they have survived this long, I do not know.
Yeah, we don't know either, because again, let me remind you, when he says how they have survived this long, remember, he's referring to thousands and thousands of years on Argus. Remember, just go with it. Just go with it.
Will you join our cause?
I can feel their presence just ahead. It is as faint as the lightest breeze that once rolled across these hills, but it is not of the Legion, of that I am certain. We must see if these broken our potential allies. It is a great risk, but our numbers are too few to ignore the chance.
We
Be on
must
your guard,
unite
champion.
against the Legion.
The Legion is skilled at deception. We may well be walking into a trap. Stay close. We are being watched. This hovel feels familiar. Prepare yourself, champion. We are surrounded. Show yourselves!
Verlin, at long last you return to the home you abandoned.
Hey, it's the chieftain I helped earlier.
Hatun? How did you survive this hell for so long?
We changed, just as Arcus did. We endured. What choice did we have?
I have no wish to fight you, Hatun. But I cannot allow your bitterness to impede our war against the Legion.
You turned your back on your people, Prophet. Your world. Such betrayal should be answered with death. But your allies saved many of us from the Legion's grasp. Perhaps you have changed.
Enough!
Hi, Terralion.
Stay your weapons! The Prophet and his ally are not our foes. We must stand together, all of us, if we are to have any chance of defeating the Legion.
Hi, Exarch Terralion. We meet at last.
Is that it? Okay. So, couple things to talk about here. First off, this was a big deal. This moment right here. Do you guys know how many years people kept asking every BlizzCon? They kept asking, where's Terralion and Illyria? What happened to Terralion and Illyria? What's gonna happen with Terralion and Illyria? It kept coming up every single year. Everybody kept asking over and over and over. What happened to these two? Where are they? Are we gonna see them again? What's going on with them? Is there any plans? It just kept coming up. So finally, seeing him emerge. Remember, he hasn't been seen since Warcraft 2. Warcraft 2. That's how long it's been since he and Illyria disappeared. Now, I do want to point out something very important here to keep in mind later on. Because he was a human back then, as he looks now. Well, looks, but anyway. And that was like 24, 25 years ago. Within the lore, I mean. Not like actual, since the game came out. I mean in lore, in the story. It's been like 20 plus years. Like between, like 25-ish years. That's important to remember later on. But I also want to point something else out. You notice this interaction between these two? They're like, oh, Velen, look, you are finally returning. He's like, that voice! Hatun, it is you! It's like, they're interacting with each other like they have, like, this is the first time they've seen each other in, like, I don't know, a decade, or a couple of decades. Which I could buy. I mean, I went to my 10-year high school reunion a couple years ago. And it was like, oh my goodness, I hardly recognize you. It's like, you've changed so much. You look great. Like you sound different. You know, you have that interaction with someone you haven't seen in a long period of time. Which, remember, 10 or 20 years, that's a long time. Remember, earlier I said, it's been 25,000 years since Velen and the Draenei left Argus. At that point, you should not even remember who each other... These two should not even remember who each other are. And they're talking as if they... This is like... Oh, it's the first time I've seen you in like a couple of decades. Oh my goodness. Villain, your hair turned from dark to white. Oh, you look different. You know, come on. Come on. Again, just go with it. Just go with it.
Not all.
Oh, actually, hold on.
Are lost.
So, yeah. Turallion looks kind of awesome. His armor looks pretty cool. Also, I want to point something out. A couple things, actually. One, look at his eyes. You notice how they're brown? Yeah, remember that. Just keep that in mind for later. Also, his sword looks awesome. I'm pretty sure because of the broken hilt there, this is supposed to be Lothar's sword? Maybe, I think. I also like how it was broken in half and like the light has like made it to make it where it's more whole again. Pretty awesome. Pretty awesome looking set there, I gotta say. See, if I was a, you know, that's the kind of set I would want for my paladin right there. That kind of armor set with that sword. That's an awesome set. Let me have that set for my paladin, please. Anyway.
We must unite against the Legion.
There's the line. Turallion yet lives. Perhaps there is still hope after all.
Batoon's people saved me from the Xenadar's fall. Many others were not so fortunate. They hold the ground around the crash site, fighting for their lives.
Okay, so we will get to chat with Turallion, who we have finally seen for the first time in a very long time when we come back. Stay tuned.